rides at Disneyland. There's over 30 we are ranking from you can skip to absolutely must do. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Like our other ranking videos, this is just going to be rides, physical rides, so no shows, no live entertainment, no theaters, and it's going to be really tricky because we're at Disneyland and I'm a Disney Worlder, so there's going to be some caveats as well of if you've been to Disney World, maybe don't prioritize this at Disneyland. There's a big nostalgia factor here as well, but let's stop talking and let's get to riding. Starting things off, coming in last place, which I don't like saying, I don't like giving anything last, but something has to be last. And in this case, it's a slash. And by slash, I mean it's the Riverboat / the Columbia. Those are the two different ships that sail around the rivers here between Frontierland and New Orleans Square. Now, while this is very magical and wonderful, this is the Mark Twain Riverboat. This is also where you can catch the sailing ship Columbia, which looks like a pirate ship. I grouped them together because they're essentially the same thing. It just depends which boat you get. It's just like similar to the one in Walt Disney World where you just scoot around and get a nice view of the two lands. It's very relaxing. Usually not a long line. If you're, just wanting to relax and enjoy a nice scenic view, enjoy yourself. Go nuts. But there's probably a lot more you want to prioritize, which is why this one's at the bottom. Again, there's nothing bad per se. There's just things that you want to prioritize over others. Look, Disney ducks. Hi, guys. Are you having a nice day? Are they on a date? They're just having a great day. So am I, ducks. So am I. Coming in at almost at the bottom, we've got the Davey Crockett Explorer canoes, which are literal canoes that you can board and paddle around Tom Sawyer Island. The only reason these rank higher than the Riverboat is because they don't have canoes in Disney World. So that's kind of cool, I guess, if you want to literally paddle a canoe. But it feels like it's going to be very cold, which is why I'm not doing it today, because I'm cold. And I feel like manual labor. It's not what I want to do on vacation, but it could be fun. It's a classic. It's really fun to watch people do it. I feel like if you're in a big group of people, you had the full canoe, it could be a lot of fun. So weigh in the comments if you've had fun on the Davey Crockett Explorer canoes. There's no height requirement, but if you are 6 or younger, you have to wear a flotation device. It just feels like a fun, nostalgic Disneyland thing that makes sense. That doesn't happen at Magic Kingdom anymore, but not something you need to prioritize along the list of great attractions here. Zooming in to 30th. Gosh, there's so many rides here. It's Gadget's Go Coaster. So Gadget is a character from Chippendale Rescue Rangers, and this is like your barnstormer. This is your kiddie's first coaster, 35-inch height requirement, super short, just enough to wet their whistle and see if they like coasters. So it's super duper cute, as you can see. This whole area it's Toontown. I miss Toontown in Magic Kingdom, but it's very cute, and if you've got little ones, it's a great ride to take them on to see if they like coasters. But besides that, this is definitely not a must-do for most people, which is why it's so low on our list. Blasting into number 29, we've got Astro Orbiter. This is very similar to the one in Disney World, except for the Disney World one actually gets points because it's up top Rocketeer Plaza, whereas this one's kind of just on the ground in the middle of Tomorrowland and basically on Main Street. Like the Disney World version, it doesn't have a height requirement. Anyone can enjoy this one, and it's fine. It's a spinner style attraction like Dumbo. I still recommend riding Dumbo if you have the time to ride one of these attractions or the desire to ride one of these, just because that's much more of a classic. And it is quaint and feels like the kind of kitschy thing that Tomorrowland is, but it's definitely not a must-do, which is why it's so low on this list, especially because it usually has a pretty long line since there's no lightning lane, so it's definitely a take it or leave it for most people. And isn't it crazy that it's like the castle's right there? That's how small this park is. I love it. Next up, AUTOPIA. These are the small gasoline-powered cars similar to Tomorrowland Speedway and the Magic Kingdom, where you are going to drive around Tomorrowland in a fun little colored car. What I love about all these older attractions is that Bob Gurr designed all the vehicles, so there's a special place in my heart for that. However, AUTOPIA is definitely not a must-do on most people's list. It's same thing as Tomorrowland Speedway. It's really fun for little ones that can't drive, and it does provide you some nice scenery, but it's probably not a must-do on your list. You have to be 32 inches to ride at all and 54 inches to drive your own car. If you're under 54 but over 32, you can drive or you can steer and let your parent push the pedal. You just have to go with someone taller. This attraction does get a longer line, partly because it does have lightning lanes, so if you're going to use lightning lane throughout the day, you might as well use it here as well. But like I said, it's a nice attraction. It's fun for a certain audience, but it's probably not a must-do for most people. Oh, squirt. That's a filthy joke. Don't tell your father that one. No. Oh, I'm here at the Finding Nemo submarine voyage, which is actually currently under refurbishment because it is swimming into spot number 27 on our list. The Finding Nemo submarine voyage is what replaced 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea here in Tomorrowland. You are going to board a submarine, and then you are going to go to the depths of the ocean with your pals, Nemo, Squirt, Dory, Crush, Marlin, all your friends from Finding Nemo. Now, this attraction is very, very cute. It is also very, very claustrophobic because you are in a teeny tiny little submarine literally under the water. So some people hate it for that very reason, but I think it's super cute. It doesn't have a height requirement. It can get a long line though because the capacity is very, very low on this attraction. So if you like Finding Nemo, if you're fine with closed spaces, give it a whirl. If you miss 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, why not? Otherwise, this one's probably one you can skip. And it's so low on our list because so many people truly dislike it because of how small the quarters are. If you're claustrophobic, you can just keep swimming. Rocking into the next spot, King Arthur Carousel. This is a classic carousel, nothing fancy about it, right in the middle of Fantasyland. Would it be Fantasyland without a beautiful carousel? No, it would not. This is going to be the same style attraction as Walt Disney World or any other carousel you've ever been on. Very simple, very fun. Now, one thing that does make this one extra magical and extra fun is there's a horse dedicated to Julie Andrews, and his name is Jingles, and he's got beautiful gold garland. So if you can sit on Jingles, you know, that's an extra special ride. Carousel, not usually a long wait, no Genie Plus, no height requirement, a classic fun time, but probably not something you need to prioritize if you are only coming to Disneyland for one day, or if you've never been to Disneyland or you're more of a Walt Disney World person. Definitely prioritize some of the other dark rides in this land over the carousel. But it's always going to be fun, right? Next on our list, we've got a classic, the Mad Tea Party. Now, these, of course, are the iconic spinning teacups. The difference between these and Walt Disney World is simply that these are uncovered, so it's super pretty at night, but it's the same ride. That's the reason it ranks pretty low. This is a filler attraction for most people, no matter which park you're in. And just if you've been to Walt Disney World, you don't need to prioritize the teacups, except for these are the OG, the opening, the original. So if you want to do them for that reason and nostalgia, go ahead. But I don't think you need to prioritize it over anything else or much else in this park. I would say it's a good filler attraction. It doesn't usually have too long of a line, no Genie Plus, and it's just fun to ride the teacups sometimes. May the Force be with us because the next one is Star Tours. The Adventures Continue. TM. Star Tours, The Adventures Continue TM, is the same exact ride as in Hollywood Studios. It used to be the same ride that was in MGM Studios, but now it's the updated version where it's in 3D and there's over 50 different combinations of adventures, so you never know who you're going to see or where you're going to go. It has a 40-inch height requirement and it does accept Lightning Lane. Star Tours is fine. Just the way it is in Hollywood Studios and Disney World. It's a fun attraction. It's got a lot of rewritability because it varies so much, but it also tends to make a lot of people, yours truly included, very, very nauseous because it's a 3D simulator and it's very shaky and jerky. It also, now that Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run and Rise of the Resistance exists, spoiler alert, yes, in this park, it kind of pales in comparison when it's your Star Wars rides. It's a fun attraction though. If you've got a Star Wars fan in the family, I highly recommend riding it. However, like a lot of things on this list, I wouldn't recommend prioritizing it if you are an avid Disney World goer. To me, it's more fun to prioritize things that are exclusive to Disneyland. I've said that, or will say that 10,000 times in this video, my apologies. But Star Tours exists. It usually doesn't have too long of a line, and it can be a really good time if you're into that sort of thing. So, may the Force be with you. Coming in at a cool 23 is Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin. This is a dark ride that does spin featuring your pal and mine, Roger Rabbit. There is no height requirement on Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin. You are gonna jump aboard your very own Benny the Cab, and you are gonna go on adventures through the cartoon world with Roger Rabbit. Being really honest with you, I haven't ridden this ride since I've seen the movie. I feel like it's going to mean more to me now, but maybe not in a good way. Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin doesn't have a height requirement, but the cars do spin, so keep that in mind. You can control them to an extent, but they're gonna spin regardless. And it is just a dark ride through the Roger Rabbit story, and it's something. I like dark rides, so I enjoy it. It's unique to Disneyland, so I enjoy it, but it's certainly not a must-do, and it's certainly not one I would rank over some other things at this park. If you're a diehard Roger Rabbit fan, if you've never been on it, absolutely check it out. Use that lightning lane so you don't have to wait in a long line, because it does get a long line. But it's a whimsical, delightful attraction, and you're going to get off either loving it or being very confused. Steaming along to the 22 spot? Did that make sense? Probably not. Anyway, it's Casey Jr. Circus Train. Casey Jr. Circus Train is another one of these just simply adorable, sweet attractions. It opened up just a few days after opening day in 1955, and it's this sweet little train that your kids and you can ride throughout Fantasyland. You kind of weave in and out of the Storybook Canal. It's of course Casey Jr. from the story Dumbo, and he thinks he can up the hill. It's nothing but a simple, sweet little train ride. Like a lot of this stuff in Fantasyland, it's just quaint. It's just perfectly quintessentially Disneyland Fantasyland, which is just nostalgia. It screams the 50s, and it's just sweet. So if you've never been on it, if you're a Disney World person, I would opt for this over something like the Carousel or Dumbo that you have in Walt Disney World. If you've never been before, you know, Dumbo's still going to outrank it, but it is a really cute little attraction. It can get a little bit of a longer line considering it doesn't have Genie Plus, and those animal cages are certainly the top spot for the cars. It's first come, first serve, but it's really cute. So I recommend it. I had fun riding it with 3 grown adults recently, so I think your kids will definitely like it in that case. Soaring into the next spot, we've got Dumbo, the flying elephant, the OG of course. This is that classic spinner attraction where you board Dumbo and fly around. Timothy Q. Mouse is up at the top. It's the original, but it is the same attraction as the one in Walt Disney World. Of course, that one has 2 Dumbos now. This one is always going to be a classic. It's always going to be a must-do when you bring your kids, especially for their first time. And there is something extra magical about riding Dumbo here at Disneyland, right behind Sleeping Beauty Castle. But for the reason that a lot of these are lower, if there's a copy of it in Walt Disney World, it's going to rank lower on my list. And it's just not as thrilling, exciting, or as quintessentially Disney, or Disneyland, I should say, as some of these dark rides that are going to rank higher than Dumbo. Nobody's ever going to be mad they rode Dumbo, but it's not one I recommend waiting a long time for. Strolling into the 20th spot is the Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This is a slow-moving dark ride through the 100-acre wood with the Winnie the Pooh characters. It's very, very cute, and it's actually one of my underrated favorites in Walt Disney World. It's more or less the same, however, the ride vehicles are different, so the best part of the attraction doesn't happen here in Disneyland, and that's when you get to bounce with Tigger. The vehicles, if you take a look at them, they're not little honey pots, they're just like little honey hives, beehives, and so they don't actually bounce with Tigger. But nonetheless, it's a very cute dark ride. You're going to go through the story and see all of your Winnie the Pooh friends, so it's great for little ones. It's down here in Critter Country. Maybe they're not tall enough to ride Splash Mountain yet. However, this one does rank lower on the list than it did in Walt Disney World. 1, there's no Tigger bouncing scene, and 2, there's just so many of these great classic Disney dark rides in Fantasyland that are a little bit more nostalgic, so if you're going to prioritize something, I would say to prioritize those. But this is always a very, very cute attraction. Zipping into our next spot is Pinocchio's Daring Journey. Now this is the most recent of these kind of classic Fantasyland attractions. This one was built in the 80s, but it's similar to Snow White or Mr. Toad or Alice in Wonderland. It's a dark ride through the story of Pinocchio. It is a nightmare, I will tell you. If you haven't watched Pinocchio recently, don't. It will terrify you to your very core. I mean, do, because it's a classic and it's beautiful and it's wonderful. But Pinocchio's Daring Journey, you're going on the journey with Pinocchio. At one point, you are captured by Stromboli. There's children turning into donkeys. But it's also just what makes this land so great. Coming in at number 18, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. No, I'm not lost. Galaxy's Edge does exist here in Disneyland, and they have the same attractions as they do in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance. They are the exact same attraction as they are in Walt Disney World, but if you are not a Disney World fan, this is your chance to pilot the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy on an adventure where you're helping out Hondo Ohnaka as well as Chewbacca. Just like in Disney World, there are 3 positions on this attraction. Gunner, Engineer, and Pilot. Pilot is the best here as well. It's not quite as popular here. It will get a longer line, but lightning lanes don't go near as quickly as they do in Walt Disney World. It has a 38-inch height requirement, as well as a single rider line and lightning lane. It's a fun attraction, however, it's lower on the list for the fact that there is a literal identical version of this in Disney World, so if you're a Disney World person, you probably don't need to worry about riding this here. It's also, while it is fun to ride with your friends and family, and try and see how much you can help out Hondo, it is not as fun as some of the more classic and iconic Disneyland attractions. It's also a simulator, so it may make some people motion sick, but it's fun. I recommend doing it at least once, but for me, I'm not going to prioritize this over stuff that's unique to Disneyland. This one might surprise some of you with how low it's ranked, but the next one on our list, Peter Pan's Flight. Yes, Peter Pan's Flight is a classic attraction. Yes, it is an opening day attraction. And yes, it is magical and whimsical, and you do get to fly over Neverland. And there are some slight differences from the Disney World version, but the reason it ranks much lower on our list than some of these others, it's not unique to Disneyland. While it is the original, it's not as magical and wonderful and whimsical as attractions like Pinocchio's Daring Journey or Alice in Wonderland or Mr. Toad's Wild Ride if you have been to Disney World. If you've never been to a Disney park, or this is your first time bringing your kids, yeah, you want to ride Peter Pan's Flight. It's absolutely a must-do and a national treasure. But just coming from the perspective of if you could do this in Disney World, what should you prioritize? This one's going to be a little bit lower on my list. The other reason that this one is a little bit lower on the list than you might expect is because, as you can see, it always has an incredibly long line. There's no Genie Plus for it, so pretty much from the beginning of the day on, it's going to have at least a 30, if not an hour-long wait, and that's, you know, does add a little detriment to an attraction, but it is still quaint and cute and wonderful, and if you get to ride it, great. I hope you have the best time, but for me as a Disney Worlder, I'm going to prioritize other things over this one. Splashing into the 17th spot, Splash Mountain. Yes, that's Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain has a 40-inch height requirement here, as well as Walt Disney World, and it does have Genie Plus. Now, this one is a little bit different though than Walt Disney World because instead of sitting side by side, rows of two, you sit one right after the other. The other main difference, you get soaking wet. I'm not talking a little wet like sometimes on Splash Mountain. I'm talking like drenched, sopping wet. Splash Mountain is that classic story where Brer Fox and Brer Bear are trying to catch Brer Rabbit, but eventually he convinces them to throw them into the briar patch instead of eating him. Doesn't really make a lot of sense on their end as kidnappers. They should try harder. But then you go down that 50-foot drop into the briar patch, and again, you get soaking wet on this version. Something that's also same about this in the Magic Kingdom one is it's also getting refurbished at some time in the future to include Princess Tiana and the characters from The Princess and the Frog instead of Splash Mountain. So maybe then Splash Mountain will come higher on the rankings list, but for now, it's got a copycat in Walt Disney World, and you get wetter at this one, so it's going to sit right in the middle of the pack for me. Next up on our ranking, this giant whale. And we're going to go ride the Storybook Canals. This is a Disneyland exclusive, a classic little boat ride where you go through Monster of the Whale's Mouth and then go see a bunch of different tiny versions of Disney locations, which sounds stupid, but it's Disneyland, so nothing's stupid. Everything's magical and perfect, including this ride. Except for the fact it actually does get kind of a long wait, and there's no Genie Plus, so that's why we're doing it now. Swooping in, making it into the top half of our list is Alice in Wonderland. This is another one of those classic Disney dark rides in Fantasyland that puts you on a vehicle and moves you through the story, this time Alice in Wonderland. The reason this one ranks pretty high on the list is because there's nothing like this in Walt Disney World. There's no Alice in Wonderland dark ride in Magic Kingdom. So it's just sweet and fun and nostalgic like all these rides are that I love so much. None of these take Genie Plus or have height requirements, so it's best to ride them early in the morning so that way you don't have to wait in too long of a line. To infinity and beyond. Well, or to spot 13 on our list, not beyond, is Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. This is the Disneyland version of Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, and it's the far superior version for a few reasons. It's the same style shooter attraction where you are going to be trying to help Buzz fight the evil Emperor Zurg, but you actually get to pick up the gun, which makes it a lot easier to shoot. The targets are different colors and shapes, so that ones you actually know are worth more, and when you hit them, they light up, letting you know you actually hit something. It makes the game a lot easier, a lot more fun. I personally love this attraction in both places because there's a lot of rewritability and a lot of fun challenging your friends and family, and this is just the better version of this attraction, which is why it ranks pretty high on our list. It is very popular, no height requirement, and lightning lane. Highly recommend using it if you've got it. Coming in at number 12, you've got the world famous Jungle Cruise, which is of course world famous for being world famous. This is the original Jungle Cruise, as everything is here for the most part, and it was also an opening day attraction here, just like it was in Walt Disney World. Jungle Cruise here is very fun. I do think the better version is probably Walt Disney World just because it's longer and you actually go through the temple. Here you see most of the same scenes except for you do get some piranhas, and this version has also been updated to have the monkeys and the removal of Trader Sam. So it's really fun. If you're a Jungle Cruise fan, I recommend it. It's certainly one of those popular rides here, and it does not have lightning lane, so it's got over an hour-long wait right now, and it has that most of the day. So if you want to ride this one, I say get here early or keep it track of the app. However, the app isn't always as reliable here for the waits as it is in Walt Disney World. But Jungle Cruise, a classic Disney attraction. Like a lot of these, if you're new to Disney or haven't been in a long time, you should absolutely take a spin on the Jungle Cruise. But if you go to Walt Disney World frequently, this one probably doesn't need to be as high as some of the others. Merrily moving its way into the number 11 spot, we've got Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Don't tell Duckfist that it's ranked this low.
I assume Mr. Toad's Wild Ride's number 1, right?
It is a number on the list.
It's number 1, I'm sure of it. I mean, there's no more wild ride in all of Disneyland.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is an opening day attraction. It takes you through Toad Hall on a nice little jaunt with Mr. Toad. Eventually you go to court, you get sent to jail, you go to a bar, you die, and you end up in hell. That is literally the plot of this attraction, but it's wonderful and magical, and you should ride it. Like all these Fantasyland rides, I'm just repeating myself, there's no Genie Plus, no height requirement, but this is an absolute must-do for me when I come to Disneyland. In fact, it would rank higher than some of the rides on this list just because we don't have it in Walt Disney World. Kicking off the top 10, we've got the Matterhorn. The Matterhorn bobsleds is the first of its kind steel roller coaster in Disneyland, and it is a classic that still slaps today. And by slaps, I mean it'll literally slap you around and you may come off with a bruise, but that's part of the charm. The Matterhorn bobsleds opened in the late 50s, and you can definitely tell if you've been on a smoother roller coaster since. It's kind of the predecessor to the Expedition Everest, though, because it does feature going up the mountain and running into the Yeti. They have upgraded the Yeti over the last several years, so that's kind of fun that they've freshened up this classic attraction. And like I said, it's a first of its kind steel coaster, so that makes it really fun and iconic in its own way. In fact, Imagineer Bob Gurr stated he had to learn advanced mathematics like trigonometry to figure out how to get the bobsleds to go up and down the mountain. Plus, they have confirmed there's a basketball court in there that employees used to go, that used to be their break room. There's literally a basketball court in the Matterhorn. So because this is unique to Disneyland, because it's iconic and classic, the Matterhorn's got to be in the top 10. But don't blame me when you need the chiropractor after. The Matterhorn has a 42-inch height requirement. It does have lightning lane. It's very popular. It also has a single rider line. So recommend riding this one early, using the lightning lane, or late in the day. It's really fun at night as well. But for me, this is a must-do, even though it whips you around. It's time for the wildest ride in the wilderness. Coming in at number 9. This one is just a delight, and it is a duplicate. There are 2 of these bad boys, but this is once again the superior version because of a few reasons. One, Dynamite Goat, obviously the best reason to ride this attraction. But number 2, it also actually has a dynamite scene where all of the dynamite explodes at the end, which makes it super duper fun. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is kind of one of those medium-sized coasters, I guess. It has a 40-inch height requirement, but it's a lot of fun, especially if you're in the back row and you whip around like a snake. It is very popular, usually a very long line. Definitely recommend using Lightning Lane if you're getting that. And Big Thunder's fun from coast to coast, but this is definitely a little bit more fun because of those added little touches of magic. So that's why this bad boy cranks the top 10. It's a must-do no matter where you go. Rolling into number 8 is a Disneyland classic, the Disneyland Railroad. How can you beat it? It's one of the most iconic things, if not the most iconic thing in Disneyland. And I know I've said that of like everything in this video. And it's not just because the characters are so cute here as a surprise and delight in the evening, and sometimes they come out during the day. They're so cute, I can't. But the Disneyland Railroad is iconic because Walt Disney loved the railroad. A lot of people that knew Walt said he only built Disneyland because he wanted a bigger train. So Disneyland's railroad goes around and makes 4 stops. There's Main Street, New Orleans Square, Toontown, and Tomorrowland. Plus, you get to see some diorama settings from the 64-65 World's Fair attraction, the Magic Skyway, including dinosaurs, which is kind of fun. And just there's nothing more Disney than a train. So you got to ride the Disneyland Railroad, even if it's just for 1 stop. But it's just, it wouldn't be Disney without a train. So you got to ride it, got to put it up high. Walt Disney loved this. So I love it too. Coming in hot at number 7, Space Mountain, baby. Space Mountain is similar to the one in Disney World, but not the same. And for once, this was a Disney World first. This came to Disney World in 1975. It came to Disneyland after, so that gives it points in Disney World. It has a 40-inch height requirement, which is also lower than Disney World. You also sit side by side as opposed to one in front of the other. It's a little bit smoother of a ride, and it has a more of kind of like a galactic action movie soundtrack as opposed to kind of the robotic sounds of the Magic Kingdom one. It is still a wonderful attraction. A lot of people like this version of Space Mountain better. I am not a lot of people. I prefer the Disney World one. I like how rickety it is. I like that it flings you around, and I like that old school soundtrack. However, a lot of people prefer this one. I'm not here to tell you you're right or wrong because I think any spin on Space Mountain is a great time. It's very popular. It does have a lightning lane. Highly recommend using it. But Space Mountain, a must-do when you're in either Disneyland or Magic Kingdom IMO. Swooping into the number 6 spot, Snow White's Enchanted Wish. Now, this is a classic and iconic Disneyland dark ride in Fantasyland, like so many of them are. And this one ranks really high because of a few reasons. One, Snow White was Walt Disney's first full-length animated feature, so it always is going to have a place near and dear to our hearts for that. But 2, they recently updated it. When the parks reopened, this reopened, updated from Snow White's Scary Adventures to Snow White Enchanted Wish. And it just has a few updated pieces of technology in it. It's got a few little effects. They don't take away from the classic dark ride feel, but it just enhances it and brings it up to date. So this is how they should do all updates, in my opinion. This is classic, it's nostalgic, it's still a nightmare, and it's an absolute must-do, especially since this isn't in Walt Disney World. Landing at number 5, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. No, I'm not confused. Yes, that Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Like I said, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge does exist here in Disneyland, thematically inconsistent as it may be. It's not even off of Tomorrowland, it makes no sense, but we're not talking about that. Right now we're talking about how Rise of the Resistance is in the number 5 spot. Which is maybe a little confusing, because Rise of the Resistance technologically is for sure the best ride Disney's ever made. So in theory, it's probably the best ride at Disneyland. But it's also got a copycat over at Walt Disney World. It also, just when you come to Disneyland, most people here have the nostalgia factor, so it doesn't beat some of the classics. But we had to put it in the top 5 because it's Rise of the Resistance. If you've never been on it before, certainly prioritize it. It's very, very popular. Usually has around 90 to 100 minute wait. It does have a lightning lane, but it is a fancy ride, which means it's $20 per person to ride it here. That's the cost. It has a 40-inch height requirement, and if you're unfamiliar with this attraction, it's a battle between you and the First Order. You are on the side of the Resistance. You're going to see Rey, Finn, Poe, Kylo Ren, Stormtroopers, larger-than-life sets. It's multiple ride vehicles. It's trackless. There's a drop. It's an incredible, incredible attraction. It is, I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing. If you're not a Disney World constant person, if you're a diehard Star Wars fan, you should definitely prioritize this and make sure you get on Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Either rope drop, pay for that fancy ride, or ride it last thing at night. But if you've been to Disney World, or you're a frequent visitor, you probably want to put a few of the more classic items on top, which is why we're setting it nicely at number 5. Welcome, foolish mortals, to the number 4 spot on our list. It's the Haunted Mansion. You didn't see that coming. The Haunted Mansion barely misses the metal platform here, but that's for a few reasons. Now, Haunted Mansion, again, is a classic Disney attraction. It's probably the most iconic and beloved attraction in Disney history around the world. It definitely took the number 1 spot on our Magic Kingdom ranking, but it doesn't quite cinch the gold here in Disneyland. And that's for a few reasons. 1, The Haunted Mansion is shorter here in Disneyland. A lot of the scenes that you know and love in Walt Disney World are actually part of the ride, whereas here, things like the library and the Little Leota are part of the queue or the exit because they just didn't have as much space. So that one feels fuller and it feels bigger. But the reasons to love the Disneyland Haunted Mansion, one, it does have a different theme. We're in New Orleans Square, so it's got this like Southern New Orleans plantation home, beautiful exterior. So it's got a totally different vibe. And then the number one reason that this ride still ranks super high on this list, even though the better version resides in Walt Disney World, Hatbox Ghost. Hatbox Ghost is a trick that they tried to do when the mansion first opened in the late 60s. It opened in 1969, and they tried to do this trick called the Hatbox Ghost, where a ghost head would disappear off of its body and then reappear into a hat box that he was carrying. They couldn't quite figure out how to do it, so they gave up. Decades later, a new Imagineer found these old plans for the Hatbox Ghost and really wanted to make it happen. So they had the technology then, and they made Hatbox Ghost happen. And it's here in the Disneyland version, and it is absolutely amazing. I assume if you're coming to Disneyland, you have an appreciation for nostalgia and Disney history, and therefore Hatbox Ghost is enough to make you want to ride this attraction, even though there's a better version in Disney World, just to see the Hatbox Ghost. The other thing that is amazing about this attraction is the Haunted Mansion Holiday Overlay. If we were considering that, this would be probably gold as far as a must ride, but it is absolutely amazing. From October through December, for Halloween through Christmas, they completely overlay this attraction with Haunted Mansion Holiday, and they make it a literally totally different ride. I rode it for the first time recently, and it blew my mind. I walked off the ride like sobbing, and I don't even really like Nightmare Before Christmas that much. It's just amazing to me how they're able to overhaul an entire classic attraction and make it feel new and fresh and incorporate the music and the characters and brand new animatronics. Truly, if we were putting Haunted Mansion Holiday on this list, it would be number one. But we're gonna settle for number 4 for the Haunted Mansion. There's definitely things that you can't do in Walt Disney World, a few things that top it, but absolutely Haunted Mansion should be a high ranking ride on your list no matter what park you're in. Sailing that's the best one I've made so far. Sailing into the bronze medal spot, it's the classic known around the world, It's a Small World. Now, if you're a thrill seeker or a techie snob or not a Disneyland Classics fan, you're probably yelling at me right now that I put It's a Small World in 3rd place, but it's a small world, people. Of all the rides, it's probably the most quintessentially Disney. It is just magic and joy, and it was brought to life at the 64-65 World's Fair, and then it was brought here. This is the OG. This is the one Walt himself saw. And then several years ago, they decided to upgrade it, and people were furious, but they added in little characters in the country that they'd live in Mary Blair style. So like Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland are in the UK, Ariel's Under the Sea, Dory and Nemo are in Australia, Lilo and Stitch are in Hawaii, and it's just like this sweet little addition that makes it fun, like a little game to look for the characters, and it makes it better than the one in Walt Disney World in my opinion. Plus it's got this gorgeous Mary Blair facade, the train comes right by it, there's this whole outdoor section. It is just like, is it the best? Is it a thrill ride? No. Is it the best ride? No. Is it the most technologically advanced ride? No. Do you need to ride it? Yes. It is a generational treasure that everyone needs to go on. So it's 3rd place. I think it's a must-do. And if you don't think that, then I probably don't want to hang out. I said it. I said what I said. Not all treasure is silver and gold, mate, but we are here at the silver medal winner, Pirates of the Caribbean. This is one of my all-time favorite rides in Disney anywhere. It's my favorite ride in the Magic Kingdom, and it's one of the best rides here as well. This is the OG Pirates of the Caribbean, opened in 1967, one of the last attractions Walt Disney himself had any hands on, but it's so much better than the one in Magic Kingdom. It's absolutely astonishing. This is still a family boat ride, no height requirement. This one does not have lightning lanes, so the line gets pretty long, but it is so much longer than the one in Walt Disney World. You actually go through the bayou and then under the train tracks down the waterfall through a cavern where you see a pirate lair. Then some of the scenes you're going to see in the Magic Kingdom as well, but they're just bigger and better. Captain Jack is there as well, and then there's a whole bonus scene at the end before going back up. It is just, when you think Disney ride, Pirates of the Caribbean is just one of the most iconic ones. You really can't beat it. It's a boat ride, which is classic Disney. You've got that Yo-Ho Yo-Ho by Exitensio, classic Walt Disney. Paul Frees doing the narration. It's just, everything wonderful about a Disney attraction is in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a thrill ride that the whole family can enjoy. It's the best, and that's why it's the silver medal winner here. No matter where you're from, no matter how many times you've been on Pirates of the Magic Kingdom, you've got to do Pirates here because it's just chef's kiss. Which means number 1 gold medal must ride in Disneyland, Indiana Jones Adventure. Indiana Jones Adventure Temple of the Forbidden Eye is the same ride system as Dinosaur in Disney's Animal Kingdom and Disney World. It's the Jeep with the hydraulics that makes you feel like you're going over rough and tumble roads, and you're gonna head into the Temple of the Forbidden Eye, which you're not supposed to look at, but you do, and then the temple starts crumbling around you. It's a huge, gigantic attraction with live animatronics, live sets. You'll see Indy himself. You'll come face to face with that giant boulder, but this attraction is like mind-boggling how big it is inside. The temple is huge. There's really cool effects. It's just an awesome, awesome attraction. It has a 46-inch height requirement. It does have Lightning Lane. Highly recommend using it here because it's very popular, as you can see. But this, I love Dinosaur. This makes Dinosaur look ridiculous. It is so much fun. There's a reason it's been this popular for decades at this point. It's an absolute must ride, and if you're coming to Disneyland for the first time, you need to put this on the top of your list. We did it. We ranked all 32 rides here in Disneyland. It was very difficult, one of the hardest things I've ever done. Go fight for your favorites in the comments. Think it was ranked too low or something else was ranked too high? Let us know. Make sure to follow us on social media at allearsnet. Now go watch the Magic Kingdom version of this video. Thanks for watching.